Hello everyone, my name is SOM Singh. I'm a medical student at the University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Medicine, and I'm the current National Study Coordinator at the Rugby Research and Injury Prevention Group, affiliated with the Hospital Special Surgery, located in New York City, New York. Thank you to the European College of Sports Sciences for allowing my team and I to present today in this unique online format, and I'm looking forward to listening to the other presenters today. Today, my team and I are presenting our cost analysis study, Medical Costs of Player Injuries in U.S. Rugby-7s Regional Tournaments, a 5-year analysis. So to give a little background on our study, we got to start with the sport. Rugby-7s, it's a well-known international Olympic sport. Specifically, it's known for being a very fun and very popular sport, but also the nature of the sport shows that there is a high injury incidence given its collision nature. Internationally, there are many studies that have talked about the injury incidence. However, in the United States, the literature is somewhat scarce. Our group at the Rugby Research and Injury Prevention Group, our aim is to create and collect data of the United States rugby cohorts, and we like to compare that with our international cohorts, really to promote the welfare of the game. Now, with more of a narrowed perspective into the aim of our study and how it ties in, we want to look at our player injuries, but we want to also look at the costs associated with these injuries for these players, teams, and everyone associated with the game. The way we will do this is that we will actually quantify these medical costs from United States Rugby-7s Geographic Union, GU tournaments, and from there we will use our information to look at patterns at these medical costs which have occurred from 2010 to 2015 seasons. Our methodology that we will use is composed of 3 major components. We will be using the RISE reporting methodology. This is a methodology that has been published that was first seen in 2012 on quantifying player injuries in the United States and has been put in other cases of literature in United States rugby afterwards. The goal of the RISE report is to be able to document and describe the injuries that occur of a player during a game. From this information, we receive information of players from 2010 to 2015, and then we are able to take that information and use a team of medical coders who have a medical background to create our diagnosis and ICD-10 CM coding. The ICD-10 CM, known as the International Classification of Disease Clinical Methodology 10th Revision, is a standardized system used in the United States as well as many other countries in hospital settings to create a standard coding of each disease or any condition that a person comes in with at a hospital or medical setting. From this, we create a standard set of injury data that is diagnosed, and now we are able to take that data and further understand the costs associated with it using another standardized process. This process is known as Current Procedural Terminology, CPT coding. We also use another type of coding called HCPCS, Healthcare Procedure Coding, but that is only used for a minor part of the study. Now, the point of this coding is important because this is the coding that is used actually in hospital billing departments in the United States as well as various other countries. From this, we actually now are able to take that injury, let's say a fracture, and now we can actually understand the costs that were given for that treatment of the fracture, the x-rays, the treatment, the rehab, these components, and we can quantify how much should it really cost. Now, to further digress, the point that we're talking about today is that we want to essentially do this coding because then we're able to look at the injury prevention and event preparedness that we can create from looking at the patterns. The way we'll do it is we'll take the literature that is presented using the International Consensus Statement on Injuries and the literature provided by Fuller et al. As well to look at injury incidents, and then we'll model the qualifying Rugby-7s tournaments that we see here in the United States. And then to talk about the medical coding, what our study involved is that we used professional players in the United States who played in USA Rugby Northeast Geographic Union qualifying series tournaments during the 2010 through 2015 seasons. Specifically, we used 834 male players and 249 female players. For relevant definitions in the study, we used time loss as any injury that prevents a player from full participation in match play, and injury severity as days absent. Once again, these were the current medical coding programs which we use. Very standard in the United States. And that's what excites us, is that this gives us a good standardized set that can be validated in settings to give us the ability to actually understand the patterns of these medical injuries. Now, once we did this entire process and we looked through all the data that we collected over 2010 to 2015, what we were able to notice is that we could stratify the cost by gender, which we thought was interesting. From here, we noticed that the total cost from 2010 to 2015 was over 800,000, meaning 208K US dollars. Specifically among men, it was 63K, and for women, it was 44K. Furthermore, we took this data of the total cost and then we looked into it on a per year basis from 2010 to 2015. What we noticed here is that the average multi-tournament cost in a series was 27K, and the highest annual cost was found in 2012 at 45K, and the lowest was found in 2010 at 13K. Now, we looked at it by gender, we looked at it over time with tournament series, we also looked at it by the injuries specifically. So the average medical costs in an individual tournament, those varied. So in one tournament, the lowest cost was 2.6K in total, whereas the highest cost in a single tournament was 7.3K. And this was from 2010 to 2015 once again. Specifically, the highest study period cost for the specific injury was fractures at a little under 30K, and this was followed by ankle sprains at 16K and concussions at 4K. From what this information provides us is that, one, it tells us that men experience much more of a financial impact in terms of the sheer numbers when it comes to the injuries. Now, this can be variable due to various components. One, differences in maybe the nature of the sport. However, it also depends on our sample size as well. However, this was one of the largest sample sizes that we used. Additionally, we noticed the tournament costs, they varied year by year and by individual event as well. The average on-field costs, disregarding surgical follow-ups, had a steady increase in annual costs per tournament, and injuries with the highest costs were likely to have higher severity and used more services. So, for example, when we talk about those fractures, they use more services, like we mentioned the radiology reports, potential surgeries, and any physical therapy. These people usually were more severe injuries as well. Overall, what we notice is that this data gives us that first preliminary set in the United States to quantify these medical injuries, and now we can use this as a tool, hopefully, to prepare ourselves for furthering player welfare